Welcome to Viva La Vibes. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Sweet Tea.
Today we got our first guest on the
Oh.
podcast. It's a guy I've been working with for a little bit.
Man,
How do you feel? You feeling ready?
round of applause.
His name is IamMusiq, and he's got a single coming out on November 2nd called AYAYAY. How you doing, Tony?
I am. Nah, I'm good. I'm good.
You chilling?
Yeah, just chilling.
How you been? Like, what you been up to?
Fantastic. Working a lot. I mean, we've been working on some stuff out here. Just trying to settle in the city again. Back in Nashville after being gone for 3 years.
Man, what you been up to for 3 years?
Living.
Living.
Living the fuck out of it.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
Dude, you've been grinding for a little bit. It seems like on this record you're coming out with.
Yeah. I want to say for about 5 months now, 6 months. We've been just inviting guests over to the studio and like working on constructing, real music, real songs that using old stuff, new stuff, like cool shit, like grimy shit, just trying to make the dopest shit possible.
Dude, it's really cool stuff, man. So talk to us about I was explaining to Travis a little bit before we started talking about the podcast and everything.
Yes.
We were coming up with ideas. Your single "AYAYAY" coming out.
All right,
What was
so-
the process behind that?
That single is actually I'm gonna open this beer if y'all don't mind.
Oh, get some
No,
ASMR.
it's alright.
That feel weird?
It was satisfying, actually.
Satisfying. Okay.
Just that little crack.
Oh yeah, it's always good to get a little ASMR on the podcast, guys.
For sure.
Yeah, the single.
Cover the bases. Okay. I'm gonna talk about the single. So this single actually is a good example of the kind of process that I like to bring to the studio. The beat was actually something that was sent to me by Tony Slumz, a producer out in California from my hometown. He sent this out with a vocal track, and just I fell in love with the way the beat just didn't really follow rules. And I liked it, so I found some pockets in there, and I'd written some stuff originally to it that I was feeling at the moment, but not really having the overall concept of like where I was gonna take that emotion. So later, I had a discussion with Slumz, and he was talking about potential releasing it. But since I had already been working on this record is a different piece, and I feel like the material on the AYAYAY single wasn't really fit for that air and that the space that we created with the record that's coming up next year. So but I did fall in love with this beat and this idea and these a lot of the words and messages I was putting out. And just threw some stuff on it, and had a couple discussions with another producer who named Dale Gordon, who I'm gonna give a shout out to, because he actually works it. He's been working on music for over 20 years. This man is very experienced, and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He went and laid some acoustic guitar over it, and it just kind of opened my concept of like what this track could become. He referenced me to a saxophone player named Simon Ye, and we met actually here in the studio, and it was my first time reaching out to someone who I would consider an industry professional and coming into like my space, my high talk, my musical space. Sorry.
That was quick and fun. I like it, 'cause that's exactly what I was thinking.
But yeah, and it was interesting, a new experience, and I feel like it was something that brought a new life to the song, and brought a new life to the studio space out here too at Salt, and I don't know, it really solidified doubts, and it was like, okay, this record is good. Let's do something with it.
Yeah.
The record tackles themes of death. I'm born Mexican. I'm from Mexicali, and a lot of in my family, it's tradition to put an ofrenda, which is basically a shrine for our dead loved ones, and kind of having them chill and party for the month.
Yeah, heck yeah. It's
Hell
kind
yeah.
of like a what's it? The Los Muertos.
Yeah,
The Dia Los
so
Muertos.
so actually, I'm releasing this record on November 2nd, which is technically the second day of Dia de los Muertos. It's interesting
Yeah.
how it's November 1st, but it's technically celebrated till that midnight point because that's in my culture. It's like a portal that opens, and it's for that night we get to spend time with our ancestors and people who, we only have through memory rather
Yeah.
than presence.
That's nice, man. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So, talk to us about your songwriting process. How does it really go? Like, do you hear the beat, or do you like just sit there with the producer and have him make the beat with you in there, or like does it vary? Or
That's
Or
a good
even
question.
better,
Yeah.
what emotion are you trying to like, or like what
Okay.
message are you trying to spread?
Okay, word. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. I'll answer both actually. My approach with song construction as a whole would probably be, first, the emotion is the most important thing because it's what you remember from the record. The song could be amazing, like it could have some of the most musical, like technical prowess, inside it, but if it doesn't make you feel shit, and it's sorry, can I cuss?
yeah, go for
No,
it.
go
We don't-
for it,
We don't
man.
fuck. We don't fuck.
Alright, yeah.
Fuck around, man.
Okay, cool. If I don't know, I probably already cussed actually.
I probably cuss like
We all did.
Word. But what was I saying? I said.
The emotion is the most
Yeah.
important part.
So the
yeah.
emotion is the most important part because the song can have the most highest of level of like musical prowess, but if it doesn't make you feel shit, then why are you gonna want to listen to it on your daily basis? What is really gonna bring you back to it to instill it as part of your day?
Okay.
And I think about that. I think of the individual struggling through similar everyday minutia that we struggle with, whether it be like, being late to work or like having, stress about like financially or thinking about, family, whether you miss them, whether you have like complicated feelings for them. And it's exploring these everyday things that kind of what wakes you up in the morning. With the musical approach, I would say that's where I sit in a headspace, and that's whenever I'm in that headspace to really observe the world around me, the people around me, the interactions I've had, and the relationships I've built from those interactions. I feel like I really tap into like different levels of psyche that's just like, all right, fine, like let's do this shit, like and sometimes it's really fun, sometimes it's really painful, sometimes it's really deep, sometimes it's really funny, sometimes it's silly, like
Yeah.
I can't control that shit. It just happens like sometimes, and sometimes I'm very meticulous and I write it really understanding the assignment, I guess is what I really want to say, like a long way of saying I just learning to understand the assignment if it's in understanding the emotional approach, the technical approach, and where they should marry.
I like that, man, because I can see that whenever you work, you're very on it. Like, I mean this in the best way possible. Don't think I'm talking about like, but we've worked on the same songs for like 5 months, and every time you come in, it's getting better and better, and you always have a different idea. Like, I'd be sitting down to go to the studio, and all of a sudden, it's just like, yeah, we got a 20-piece orchestra coming in about 5 seconds. Like, oh, what the fuck? It's like, man, it's on this hardcore trap song. And all of a sudden, it ends up being fucking sick. It's like, holy shit, Tony.
No, yeah.
And he's just like, I just see, like, I'm sitting at the computer, and all of a sudden I see his hand point to the screen. I'm like, all right, here we go. And he's like, get that, get out that, keep that. But put like a chorus, and I was like, fuck it. No, dude, I love you.
Yes.
You keep me on my toes and make me learn something. I've learned so much through this record. I'm not even just saying that. Like, I've grown so much through this record. So it's been an honor being a part of it. I can't wait to see what else 20-piece orchestra's coming out. It's just legit like that. Like, I don't know what I'm expecting, and I love the being on my feet and everything in there.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So what got you into music, man?
Fuck.
I know it's a very broad,
Yeah,
but I've never really
yeah.
dove into this with you.
No, and okay, so there's a fond, vivid memory of my childhood. Growing up in Mexicali, we would go visit family in Guadalajara. And not in Guadalajara, the city, but there's a like a satellite city kind of like a suburb called Ameca.
Okay.
That's about, I want to say, if I remember correctly, which I was like 10 years old or like 11 years old. And I actually just realized this a couple weeks ago, but this was the spot, the beginning of my musical like journey and my, curiosity, I guess, my musical curiosity. And it was during this trip we would drive in a van from Mexicali all the way to Ameca, which is about 30-hour drive, 36-hour drive. Typical Mexicans, like, fuck ton of us in the car. Fuck ton of shit in the back. Like empty, like suitcases. I mean, a lot of the times we'd actually take clothes, we'd take stuff over there and like empty out our suitcases. So we'd buy a bunch of shit and and bring it back.
Honestly, that's what I do.
Yeah. Man, everything was cheap, man. And, like everything was good. It was high quality stuff. Not Guadalajara is known for its jewelry. Actually, the chain I'm wearing is from Guadalajara.
Damn.
I purchased it last year when I went on a trip with my parents. But sidebar, growing up, we would go every year, just about every year. I want to say we went like when I was like, when I was 10, 2005, and there's old photos of all of this that my mom likes to, traumatize me with. But I remember a specific, very vivid memory of like this road that we were driving on because we couldn't find one of my tios' houses that was on the way there. And we were listening to it back then. It was like, cassettes or CDs. Like I think CDs were barely a thing, but not all cars had them. Aux was like a fucking pipe dream. But there was a song. The CD was super scratched, or this tape was really messed up. I can't remember exactly the context, but I do remember we were listening to this song on repeat over and over.
What song was it?
It was Chewy Mauricio. It's a Mexican song about two friends who it's a it's a corrido. And it's about two friends who I didn't know this as a child. Shit. Who were murdered for like cartel activity and like just the way the town mourned them. And I remember that song, listening to it over and over again, and singing it and loving to sing it. And one of the things that my mom always reminds me is like, she's like, yeah, I used to be like, AYAYAY cabrones, like that was some shit I would say, which is a bad, like as a kid, like you're not supposed to like cuss or whatever, but she's like, fucking like, you're just gonna do it. And like she'd get mad at me every time and I'd still do it every time. I was and I feel like I still remember that song, and every time it comes on, and one a memory I have from just being with them this year, right before I moved back to Nashville, we were playing cards because that's in our family tradition. We play cards, a little hand of pool, and we just bet like like 1 peso, 2 pesos. Like,
see,
it's just like chip money.
See, my family, my mom's side, she's Laos, and
yeah, that's cool.
My grandma was actually the one who taught me how to play 3-card poker.
Oh, really?
And I started out with $1 and I ended up with 50. So,
it just adds up. Yeah, like, but it's just fun. Honestly, it's a fun experience, and it's kind of a bonding. You talk shit. You like, you try shit. It's
yes, sir.
And
we do.
Growing up, I feel like that created like a lot of connection. And every time we play, and I like to stay up on music and remind myself of how it makes me feel, even older music. Also, I love to explore new music as well. Like it's hard I know it's a hard balance to strike, and I understand the job and the tasks that it requires, and I'm willing to do that. I'm all ears. Like my ears hurt. I low-key need to take breaks from that shit. Like I can tell. I've go through so many, like I've gone through 3 pairs of AirPods, not because I've lost them, but because just
worn them out.
Just worn them out.
Hell yeah.
And, or just like, I'm always constantly trying to keep that and listen to new. And that one thing that she said when we were playing cards, that song came on, and she's like, "Oh, es tu canción." And I was like, "It's your song." And I was like, "Why?" She's like, "You remember?" Like and she reminded me of that trip, and that was like, wow, that was the beginning. That was the start. That was the feeling that song made me feel about, like the story it was telling, but also just the feeling of like we were in a bad situation. We were lost in the middle of like in the middle of Mexico, not really not finding like a specific like a little town that and that song was just playing over and over again, and instead of like it providing torture, it provided comfort, despite it being a song about such a grim topic, you know. And just that's what I realized a couple weeks ago, and I was like, wow, like deep in my soul, I feel like that was a message of like, oh, this is something you like to do. Maybe you can, you know, provide this, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever actually told anyone.
I've never heard that before.
But I've probably talked to Chewy about it. Like, yeah, I'm sure Chewy knows.
Good old Chewy.
Yeah, Chewy's he's Jesus. He's Stylo Ghost when he's probably like my brother, one of my closest friends. But, yeah, that's a little shout out to that fool.
Hell yeah.
Stylo Ghost.
Man.
Stylo Ghost.
But dude, I love that story. It's weird tracing stuff back to where like it all began, because like the domino effects of stuff like that, where like what if this happened, or like what if I never met this person, or
What
something.
is it? What's that paradox called?
The butterfly effect.
I think so. Yeah.
It's where like if you stomped on a butterfly in like 1798, it will cause like
Whole.
Hitler to be an art student or something like that.
Yeah.
But some like extreme thing.
Yeah, and there's different realities that branch out of decision making that we, you know, are feeling at the current moment. And it's kind of like really having your hands on the wheel at all times, and the responsibility that we have with that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and, I mean, Rick and Morty said, what about the reality where Hitler cures cancer? Like, the answers don't think about it. And I feel like that's actually contributes to some of my songwriting, is like, what if, or like storytelling, which I also dabble in writing, and I've been exploring just character development and, you know, story structure and just little things like that.
That's important as a writer.
Yeah.
Understanding how a story is told, for sure. I was told by my teacher, Mark, if you really want to get into like production and like sound design and everything like that, just how stuff is paced in music and songwriting, watch movies and see how like the shots are paced and like how everything's building and like what shot they're using, and like just watch how they're constructed too, and you can learn how they pace stuff, and then you can maybe learn how to pace a song. Do you kind of look at that kind of like music as more like of a broad stroke of thing, like the art, the videos, the concepts?
There's definitely a history of hip hop and storytelling, and something I hope to, you know, that I pay attention and try to pay homage to as much as I can. And I feel like just learning from the greats is important. Understanding what the impact that they had and why they influenced other artists, other creators to think like them, sound like them, you know, behave like them.
Yeah.
I think that's just a deep core of like part of it, and I've been influenced by people who, at their greatest moments of like just pure creative, like, I guess, just creative like peak, have helped gallop all of us as a, you know, society, or just as a culture in the States, in America, or what have you, or the English world. And that's something that I like to pay attention to. Like whenever I listen to new artists, it's like, I hear what you're doing, and I hear what has been done in this avenue. What are you bringing to the table that I've never heard before and never thought of before?
Yeah.
You know, something, and I feel those are the artists that really like push us, or not push, but gallop us to the next levels of like
The groundbreaker.
Yeah, of creative expression through whatever the only thing we have, which is music, is communication. It's airwaves at the end of the day. Like, you know.
Now, like, who do you like look up to and like draw your inspiration from?
Okay.
Usually from, I
Well,
guess.
On a creative level, like I feel like and it's funny because like his passing is actually about to happen. Like his anniversary of his passing is happening in Halloween. But MF Doom for me was a huge creative that has influenced me in my later years of like music, and for its literary value, because there's something there that can be taught and passed down to future generations that he provides.
Okay.
But I would say, like, growing up, definitely. I was influenced by many different artists, but I never really latched on to any one artist. Like, I would say, with my influences from my sisters, I had two older sisters, who they're amazing. I love them, and they influenced me with like they exposed me to Spanish rock, and Mexican like pop music, and just Mexican rock music and just punk music. And,
Yeah.
you know, I listened to a lot of Eskorbuto, a lot of like Belanova, a lot of Juanes, which is a huge artist in Latin America. Mana, Café Tacuba, Enanitos Verdes, like just these huge acts that are huge. Their influence on the Spanish world is it transcends countries. You know, it transcends different cultures because of the language that, and I never appreciated that growing up because of the pressures of going to school in America, you know. And I feel like now, like, so when I was looking for my English inspirations, the first thing that came to me was the Chronic 2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Dre.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I was like, okay, they're talking a language I can understand. I can share this with my friends. I can dive into this. I can understand what, like, why this is fucking cool. Like this, I was just like, wow, this is the coolest shit I've ever. Like, you can do that, you know?
Yeah.
That was it. Opened a whole avenue, and being, you know, a Cali kid, that's something that I found a voice in that, an English voice.
Okay.
And I will even go as far as to saying that the Chronic 2001 dropped in 2006. No, 2001, obviously.
Yeah.
I was 6 years old is what I meant to say, sorry.
Okay.
I was 6 years... I'm
Sorry. Sorry.
Hi, how are you?
Both of our. both are we?
But 2001 dropped, and I was 6 years old, and I found an American voice, and I was learning English at the time. So I will even go as far as to saying that hip hop taught me English faster. Even my parents were surprised. I learned it in about 3 or 4 months, and
Wow.
it was.
Wow.
And I was a kid too, so
Yeah.
when you're a kid,
You're a sponge.
exactly.
Yeah.
And when I feel like discovering that album and opening my eyes to hip hop, and because of that, I went up to my cousin, and Roberto, who rest in peace, passed away in 2003. He had a Tupac poster in his wall,
Okay.
and it made me go up to him and be like, "Hey, I heard this. Like, do you have more? Do you know of more of this?"
Yes.
You know. And he showed me Tupac, and he showed me Biggie, and he showed me he told me the stories that they told, and I listened, and I understood, like, to a degree, the struggles that they were going through, because I would look outside and it was like what they described, and the people that I saw and I met looked like what they talked about, you know. And it was real. Like, there was a lifestyle. Like, they would we would drink 40s, like deals would drink 40s, and like be smoking like blunts outside. Like, that was facts. And it was just, we were just fucking, you know, snot noses just chilling. And I understood the culture, therefore it was easier for me to understand the music and be like, this is cool. Like, I see this now. And yeah, going back to like, it's finding that balance of both cultures for me, of appreciating what my parents have taught me through their music, because none of it is in English. They don't speak any English. And then just the music that I've discovered along my journey in life, and the mentors and peers and, you know, kin that I've met along the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was well said, man. Damn.
Sorry, I like
No, that was awesome.
I'm a worder sometimes.
No, that was
I
perfect,
guess.
dude. That was awesome.
I know words.
Yes.
Can't read, but I know words.
Yeah.
I'm not a smart man, but I do know what words are. Dude, that was awesome.
No, I mean, it's real. Like, you know, I get on these fucking tangents. I'm sorry. I'm just taking airspace, but
Nah,
I
dude,
just get on
don't.
these tangents,
Please,
you know.
please.
It's
That's
just
why we're
like,
here, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also, it's always cool seeing how people have gotten into like the stories of like how they found certain artists and like through friends and family members, and just like you see a poster on the wall, and it's like, well, like, do you know any more like that?
Yeah.
Like he shows you that. And it's like it's cool seeing how that develops and seeing how someone grew into what they are today in music. So it's always cool to freaking hear, man.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead. Man.
Oh man,
What the
it's just more of when I hear like that story, it kind of just brings like basically you've been like gravitated towards rap like all of your life,
entire life.
Yeah.
and so it's just kind of cool. It's like you feel like that's how like I guess God's plan
Yeah,
is for
yeah.
you. You know.
I would say part of it is stepping back and realizing that like I speak rap, you know, I speak hip hop, not in the sense of like, you know, I always say I'm trilingual. I would even say I'm even like whatever 4 languages.
Quad.
Quadlingual, is that what it
Quadlingual.
is?
Who knows?
Word of the
man?
day. Word of the day.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
We have phones. Let's find this
Yeah.
out.
Why not? Look that up, Jamie. Look that up. Jamie, look that up.
Yeah, fingers. Over
Yeah.
here. Spit. But I would say because I speak hip hop, but I also speak, I speak English, Spanish, hip hop, and I speak Mexican, which is not Spanish, Mexican, and it's a different attitude. It's a different like.
You're repping the
approach.
culture.
Yeah,
basically.
it's like today, for example, and this is a great example. Out of I still have a day job, so I'm working my day job, and I was getting some food, and a coworker says, he's like, yeah, you want a biscuit with that? Like I was like, yeah. I was like, no, I don't. Like biscuits are weird to me. He's like, biscuits are weird to you? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm still haven't gotten used to the idea of biscuits like every day, having them every day, like being a thing. He's like, oh, what do you mean? I was like, well, I mean, I grew up on tortillas, like. Like that was my biscuit. Like it was tortillas, beans and rice, or, or beans and potatoes, beans and chorizo. Like that was my meal, you know.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, and it made me go, oh, that's not normal.
It's not normal. Yeah.
That's not a thing here. Like I'm in a different place. I forget. Like like everyone has different backs. Like it's just, you know. I don't know, and I feel like it was a good moment of like reflection of like what we carry with us that we don't realize that we carry with us everywhere we go.
Yeah.
You know, and they're parts of our personality, they're parts of our psyche, like they're parts of our sense of humor, like our habits. Like you know, like we were just talking about hot Cheetos and puffs, like before we went on the air. Like hot Cheetos, that's the shit like I grew up on, because I like it's not that I can't say I wasn't always a spice fiend or whatever, but
Spice nut.
that wasn't
Yeah.
I wasn't that wasn't my shit. Like growing up, like when I was a kid, I would not avoid it, but I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And in Hot Cheetos dropped, I was a high school punk, and like I decided, yeah, this is it. And now, honestly, if I feel stressed, if I'm having a bad day, which isn't normal, it isn't a usual thing that I like to do, but I'll go into a bag of hot Cheetos and be like, fuck everything, fuck the world, this is my happy place. Like, like, and I know it's like, you know, I don't mind the actual health reasons for it because of the mental health that it helps provide.
Yeah.
I feel like I understand the balance, I understand the exchange and transaction and energies, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fair exchange.
If it makes you happy, man, that's all that matters. If
Exactly.
it relaxes you and stuff.
Exactly.
Everybody has a thing that just calms them the fuck down. You know what I mean?
And that's an association I have with weed and with like, you know, with beer or whatever, any substance that I will take, like it'll be like, all right, bro, like why? You know.
You try to find a reasoning.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not just gonna like, you know, mindlessly do something, because I understand the stimulation it provides, and sometimes it does. I could say it. Sometimes it does has contributed to more creativity and allowing, you know, different parts of my psyche to come through.
Loosens you up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it because I feel like it just everybody's different, and I can say like I'm just so scattered brained all the time, and these things help me focus when I need to focus on the things that I need to focus on at the times that I require them. You know,
Yeah.
that's as long as I am constantly aware of that. Like, yeah, and not to say like, you know, I'm not endorsing, you know, substances or anything like that. Like, but anyone who is gonna smoke a cigarette or, you know, it's like, or you know, roll a blunt or drink a beer, like, know what you're doing and be mindful, you know, of the environment it creates, you know.
100%. Yeah.
Hmm.
Damn. Well, I got a little question for you that you wanted me to mention. But if you said save it for the podcast, so I was interested. No,
Oh, the Christmas.
the Christmas
the
thing. Yeah,
Christmas
he had
thing.
a little story you wanted to say.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to. I'm gonna wrap this quick because he asked me about like, if I drum. And I was
Yeah.
like, I have
Yeah, he was about to get on the
I have
slap the skins.
I have a complex like relationship with drumming. Cause the first present I ever asked my parents for was a drum kit, and I want to say I was 4 years old, maybe 5, cause I remember it was like just something that I always liked, and no, I wasn't. I was 7, and the reason I know that is because on my 7th birthday party, my parents got me a taka taka, which is a specific type of band in Mexico that is mostly based on snare. And
Oh
I was,
wow! So
and
it's like basically like a mariachi, just snares.
so yeah, so
Okay.
it would be.
Heck yeah.
It's not. It's more drum based. Whether it's not it's not string heavy like mariachi, or it's not tuba and trumpet heavy like banda. It's more based on rhythm and drum, and it's got like hella cowbell. I could show you some shit after this, or
Yeah,
if you guys
Yes.
want to like insert it here.
I'll think of it.
But yeah.
Okay.
But it's a different style of Mexican music. But she said that I was so enamored by the drum that everyone was dancing behind me because the band was in front, and I was just standing there in between the dance floor and the band, staring at the drummer, like while he was like cowbelling the fuck out of this track, you know. So I loved and I now I remember that happened in June and December the next year. I asked for a drum set. I got my drum set. First fucking day, wake up Christmas morning, because I was pretty bummed because it wasn't there. We celebrate Christmas on the 24th, and that's something that I need to establish here.
Okay. Yes.
The Christmas is 24th at midnight. Like this is not an argument.
You know, it's funny. At my work today, I don't know how I brought up Christmas, and I told her, I said, it's Christmas starts when my dad comes out of his room with the black trash bag right over his shoulder, starts setting everything down on the fireplace.
Oh yeah.
For us, it was like Christmas was the night. That's something I wanted to talk to him about. Like, for that present I got the next morning, so I was bummed out the night before because like traditionally like we get the present the night, but I guess it was just a big ass present. So I woke up to it, my ass being too excited, not really knowing what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
I went and I was like, look what Santa got me, and I remember hitting the fuck out of that snare and breaking it, and I didn't know that drums could break. I'm sorry,
Yes.
I'm hitting the mics, but I didn't
you're
know.
cool.
I didn't know that drums could break. Like that wasn't a thing that as the child
No,
me
you just gotta smack the fuck out
yeah,
of it.
I was like, yeah, this shit'll. I beat the shit out of it, and
You're a little Hulk, son.
I remember
baby
my
Hulk.
father's face. I remember my dad's look. It was just like.
He was like, "What the fuck just happened?"
I just
So
fought you, this fucking.
I bet he was speechless too.
He didn't say a damn thing, and I would understand. As an adult, I'm like, damn.
Fuck.
I'm so.
What would
happy
you
I
do
did-
in that
I know.
scenario? Like you just. It's
So he
like
was
you can't
obviously
say no,
excited,
don't
yeah.
do it. Like you're
Just
mid
like
doing
he
it.
did, and it was just like he's like, you broke it, and I was like, fuck. I remember we had like tape, and
Yes,
we just taped it up with like we didn't even have duct tape or anything like that. We didn't have duct tape. It was just like Scotch tape, but the
wow.
thick one. Yeah, we just used
Yeah.
that, and I think that really discouraged me from like really going in. But after that, like I was playing for 2 years. I was playing a broken drum set because I kept doing it. I didn't learn
yeah.
the first time.
Yeah.
But I was playing with a broken ass drum set for those first 2 years, and I reached a point where I was like, I just stopped. Like I lost interest. I
Yeah.
lost touch, and I stopped. But yeah, back to Christmas, because you know the holidays are starting, and Halloween was in the air last night, for example. Halloween's in the air right now. The
Mhm.
Hollows are here. I'm not sure when this will air, but this
Probably
happening.
tomorrow.
Probably.
Word,
Most.
word, cool.
Hey, he's straight with it. He's smooth with
No,
everything.
BK
He
to
is.
God.
On God.
We
But-
tried to be here at the Cell Rock.
Sometimes I have him on speed dial. It's just like I can't call God, so I call BK.
I'm always open. Besides Saturdays.
No. Yeah.
You work double time on Sundays.
Man.
But yeah, like the thing is like the difference in holidays and the way I grew up, the way school and like peer pressure taught me. My parents would we would celebrate Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, and not not everybody in my school did that. Not to say like we were a huge Hispanic population where I'm from, the Valley. It's actually I want to say it's like 80-90%, something like that. Mostly Mexican kids. But one thing that I didn't know about the Valley until I moved out of the Valley was just how Americanized these kids are indoctrinated to be at a young age, and how it had been happening this whole time. And it's just like we go to school and we like whitewash ourselves. And I hate to say this this way, but it's happened, and I saw it and I experienced it from being a kid from Mexicali, from the other side of the border, and being seen as that by my peers growing up. I was blessed with curiosity, and it's allowed me to have introspection and a proper education. My dad was a teacher, a Mexican teacher.
Okay.
He would cross the border every single Monday through Friday. He would work from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Oh.
Because in Mexico, in the city Mexicali, we had two turns for school. It was the kids that would go from 8 to 12, and then the kids that would go from 1 to 5.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's
So it was like block scheduled then.
yeah.
Schedule, but it wasn't it was different kids. It was a different class. So every day he had 2 different classes, and kids basically only went for 4 hours a day. And I noticed that how much more freeing it felt being in those classrooms in Mex. For one, they call their teachers profe, which is just professor, short for professor. And they don't use last names; they use the first name. So my dad was Profe Toño. I'm named after my father.
Okay.
My dad was Profe Toño. And that's something that I was like, oh. And a really cool thing that growing up, and it was just part of my reality, was we would be in Mex, going to fucking the casino, like my dad, or a flat. We got a flat, so we take it to a mechanic, or we took the car to a mechanic, whatever. And he would constantly run into former students, and they would always recognize him, and he remembered their names.
Oh, wow.
And I was,
Side note, I love teachers. I love them. When the people that just sit there and they actually enjoy their jobs. I'm the type of student, I'll give them the same respect they give me. So if he's straight gun ho on wanting to do it, hey, I'm straight gun ho on wanting to do it. If he wants to fuck around, I'm fucking around.
Yeah.
So it's just
it's a transfer of energy. It's like, all right, this is the way, this is your method. I'm in your space. I'm in your time. Let's make this work. I'm not gonna make you hate yourself, and I'm not gonna hate myself being here. I feel that, and it's weird how, and that's the relationship that they have with teachers over there. It's more of it's a mentorship bond. Whereas here I hear more and more stories of oh, this fucking teacher sucked. Oh, this fucking teacher sucked. Which, to be fair, fuck the system for treating teachers the way it treats them.
See, they teach us to be so employee based. I feel like they make us trained to work for someone. In our opinion.
I agree, and it's something I've allowed myself to really step back and see the privilege that I've been provided with. Seeing both styles of teaching and seeing that there's flaws in both, but there's better methods that can be instilled. And one of my goals is okay, I do want to follow in my father's footsteps. What do I have? I have English, I have Spanish, I have context, I have hip hop. So I'm gonna use this, and I'm gonna teach the way I know I can. you know. And that's something like with my emotional angles and the feelings that I like to, you know, navigate within myself and to like project on the record. It's about like teaching empathy. It's about teaching value. It's about teaching, you know, integrity to these kids at the young age where they're gonna, you know, take the most in, like 5 to 7, which is when I learned this language and I understood this culture myself.
Yes.
You know, and I feel like we're teaching at those ages. We're not teaching those things. And you said we're teaching ABCs. We're teaching structure. We're teaching rules. We're teaching, and it's like that's the time for freedom. Then is the time for, like, you know, mechanisms, systems, like the best way to instill this empathy and this integrity and just all these things. And there's other school systems that I've done some research on, like the Japanese school system, like the Irish school system, that they provide these things and they allow freedom, and it reflects on their culture, you know?
Yes.
Wow. That's something that it's definitely a goal of mine. You asked this question earlier in the night. That's a goal of mine, a final goal, or not just a constant goal. Teach.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah.
Dude, I got lost in that for a second. I let you. I was just listening for. I was like, damn, dude. That was nice.
No, I completely agree with all of that.
Yeah.
Damn.
What were they teaching in your textbooks?
I was about to say, I'm interested to see what they were.
I was an AP student, not a flex, just a fact.
No, yeah, okay.
I was an AP student. And all my peers were white kids.
Okay.
I was the only Mexican from. No, there was another kid, homie of mine. His name's Orlando. Shout out to that fool.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Him and I were, and there's another friend of ours too, who, her name's Priscilla, who were, not. I don't want to put us in boxes, you know, or like in skin tones, but we were the different odd ones out.
Yeah.
Because we understood this other context and culture. Like we would joke about things that, these kids could never understand because they didn't eat the food that we ate in the morning. They didn't hear the way our parents spoke to us.
Yeah.
It was just different, you know. Every culture is beautiful in its own, you know, upbringing, and the way we are like brought up is special to everyone, and we want to represent that everywhere we go. And for us, it was just like, oh, like this is cool. Like we're here, we're at the table, but we're not at the table because there's not enough of us here, and we still. Like there's still this stigma.
Yeah.
And we would read this, like we knew what we were being taught. We were smart kids. Like kids are smart. Yeah. Kids are smart. It's something I say. Like kids live what we try to teach and preach. They literally live. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Okay. Shit.
Kids are cruel. Kids are kind. Kids are, you know, they're learning the part, and that's what life should always be. And kids do what we try to remind ourselves to do naturally. And it's the youth, it's the spirit of youth that they embody, and the rules that we do instill on ourselves are important, but I don't think they've been proper, for at least for my experience, and I hope that for other experiences as well, like we can all come together on something. I read a lot as far as like, I wouldn't call this self-help, but I would call it more knowledge. Like I've read, like I can talk all day about like the 4 agreements or just, you know, the law of attraction, and it becomes almost taboo to even talk about it in this context. But it's like there's truth to that, and like whatever truth you find in that, use that shit. As if it makes you a better person, you know, better. Because we can do better, but we can never be the best. We will never be the best, but better is possible. And it's all just a standard that we have to keep continuing to live up to.
Yeah. 100%
but yeah,
agree. So
just learning, constantly learning. Not from the book, but from the world, from like the homie, like, you know what I'm saying?
You know, honestly, it sounded like they had a more lit school than us.
Yeah, honestly.
It's like, fuck my teacher for making me sit there and read 3 fucking pages of my history book and then do the end of chapter fucking test.
Yeah, the
I'm like,
chapter review.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, this test.
This
They
test.
were
They,
bitches.
they definitely had like tests and shit. Like that was,
Yeah.
I remember that. Like
Yeah.
I was just the son of the teacher that would pull up. Like, and I feel like I never went. I was never not in
Okay.
a school setting growing up
Yeah.
because I would do. My dad worked a lot during
Mhm.
school time, so in the summer was when I would get to spend time with him, and he would have summer school, so I would just go with him. And
Oh
we
shit!
would-
Hell yeah!
I would get that. That's why I'm saying I would get that experience. and
Okay.
that-
Hell yeah!
And it was my dad time essentially.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until now. Like I'm a fucking 20-something-year-old, but
Yeah.
it took a minute.
Okay.
But-
No, yeah.
But yeah, it was special. It was definitely something special, and I feel like everywhere I went, like even in high school, like I was the music guy.
Mhm.
I was the music kid. Like they
Yeah.
knew I was just the weirdo that was like obsessed with the shit.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's all right.
they call it an obsession. Like I
Yeah.
guess fuck it. I don't care whatever it is. I love doing this, and maybe I'm high on creativity sometimes. But I even being aware of that alone is like allows me to ground myself into like, all right, still gotta clock in. Still gotta
Grind.
Gotta grind it out.
Yeah, gotta
Yeah.
grind shit out. Like it takes real work and
Yeah.
understanding that within yourself and being like, yeah, no one you're supposed to be talented in this. Like you're supposed to be good at this. Like
Yeah.
that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's a given. That should always be a given. Who cares if you're good at it? What do you have to say? Like
Yeah.
who are you doing it for? That's those
Ta-
deep questions that
Okay.
you have to ask yourself as an artist to really fully make it and within yourself before any like anything real like manifests.
Mhm.
And that's something I've been exploring for the past couple of years and just dealing with and appreciating and moving through.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I've recently started meditating about maybe a year ago,
Oh, it's amazing.
and then so I've been meditating, working on my breathing. I actually started doing like the Iceman's breathing,
Yeah.
and then just really listening to like remind myself about the law of attraction, manifesting my goals and daily tasks, and just stuff like that to keep me grounded. And that truly helped me a lot
Yeah.
through life, and I
Yeah.
still use it actually to this day. And it's weird because it's like I'm Buddhist and Christian,
Yeah.
so I'll sit there and I'm able to meditate, but I'm also able to pray too.
Yeah.
So
it's
it's just
beautiful.
like
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
A quote a day is something I've been kind of adopting.
Okay.
One quote a day. Like listen, like hear a quote, resonate with it.
Mhm.
Take it in. Why did you resonate with it? And like so I'm on Twitter a lot. Like,
Yeah.
it's fun. Twitter is fun. But I follow certain pages that just, pump out good quotes
Mhm.
and that's all they do. And I like to sit on find one that's like, oh, this one's cool. Sit on it. Screenshot it. Like throughout that day, remind myself why I resonated. And I don't know, maybe learning from it for that day at least.
Okay.
I think there's a reason for absolute truths to be so like a quote, like an Aristotle quote, like the other day I heard, I'm gonna butcher the fuck out of this, but it was
Paraphrase.
I'll
We're
paraphrase this
paraphrasing
Aristotle
it.
quote. It was talking about habits and how a great man is really just a person with great habits.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh shit, like that's true. Like we're all ordinary, but it's the habits that define the habits we carry that define us. So learning like getting better habits should be a constant goal.
Okay.
That's what I took from that. And I don't know. It's helped me just understand like my I grew up in Catholicism, so I still very much like my faith is important to me because of like where it allowed me to open up to, but I don't consider myself a Catholic. I don't consider myself in anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just kind of like learning about people and
Free spirited
Yeah.
is what I try to call it.
yeah, that's great. That's beautiful actually.
Mhm.
Free spirited, just completely conscious of like others perspective, and understanding that we all it's all we are is a perspective at the end of the day, and what you feel is what you get, what you give is what you get, what you feel is what you what was it what you
The love you make is equal to the love you take.
yeah
To quote the Beatles.
quote. But even like those like see, and that's another thing, like quotes fall into this cliche category sometimes, but even then analyzing the truth in those quotes, and maybe it's the hip hop like background and the rapper in me that just likes to which I would never really consider myself a rapper, but just my roommate the other day said, he's like, bro, you say some shit sometimes, and I'm like, what the fuck, that was hard. And I'm just like,
go to the beach and look at some cheeks. Still my favorite line.
and it's interpretation, I think we're all just interpreting life our own way, and being like one of the 4 agreements is being the first agreement is being impeccable with your word, and I feel like that translates to manifestation, and it's like what you speak is what will eventually like come to you, because I do believe that the mind creates behavior creates reality, and if we understand the behavior that we're like doing, then I feel like our reality will be more satisfying to that behavior and ourselves in the mind that we put out,
Yeah.
And even that's just simple. It's just simplifying. I think at the end of the day, it's like getting these complex, like intangible, like strange concepts, and simplifying them as easy as I possibly can in word form. That's what I try to do with my writing sometimes, and really, it might sound jokey, but if I laugh and I cry the most, so my music will make you laugh and make you cry.
Okay. Yeah.
It is just part of my perspective.
See, I was listening to your music on Spotify, a couple of stuff, and I noticed you had a couple of wrestling references.
Yes.
Man. Favorite wrestler? You have to answer that though.
Favorite wrestler?
Yes.
Man, oh man. I'm gonna go with La Parca.
Oh.
Tattooed on my arm right here.
Shit.
La Parca, for me, was a performer in a way that no other wrestler ever like attempted, with the gimmick side of it.
Yes.
He didn't speak a word. That wasn't his thing.
Okay.
And even Lucha, I grew up with Lucha, and WWE.
Yeah.
And Impact.
See, it's weird.
And
I grew up with
real quick.
Yeah.
I grew up with everything, or I kind of cultured myself onto that side of everything too. So it's just like watching like AAA, Lucha Underground.
AAA, yeah, Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, CMLL.
Yes.
That's where Místico came out of, who ended up and making it to WWE as Sin Cara. But like, the Místico gimmick was like, but he fucked up.
He fucked up,
and it wasn't even him. Like,
dude,
the
that
Místico gimmick was one of the most popular. Like, he was a huge wrestler in Mexico in his inception. He was huge. I went to go see him twice.
Really?
I saw that motherfucker twice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so Lucha was something that was part of okay. I was raised in Mexicali. The colonia or neighborhood I was raised in is called La Nacionalista.
Okay.
It's basically like, it translates to the nations. And I guess it's just because every street name is a different country. But also, according to a friend of Chewy's aunt, a friend of mine's aunt, she said she was also from Nacionalista, but from another corner of it. It's a pretty big neighborhood. We had an arena in the neighborhood.
Oh shit.
That was like known for its like up and coming like wrestlers.
Yeah.
My neighbor was a goddamn wrestler, and I didn't know this for like 20 years of my life until like I was back there last year. I spent some time back home in the time that I was away from Nashville, and I found out my neighbor is a she's a luchadora, and it was sick. Like, I got to talk to her, and I was like, yo, like what is that like? That's so dope. And I feel like a lot of the it's an interesting. I love Lucha for it's a kayfabe. I love Lucha for like, and I love the wrestling for the kayfabe side of it, but also just like the art of like
The storytelling. It's
yeah,
just
long
so good.
format, real time storytelling, and it's you live through it with them, and to say the way La Parca would do it was like just being this like this he's death, the Grim Reaper, but this Grim Reaper sang or not sang, but he danced to Thriller by Michael Jackson of all fucking records. You know what I'm saying?
So that's his theme.
That was his gimmick. He'd pull up and it was Thriller, and he would dance.
Oh, okay.
He created in my eyes, he created sloth style, which is something that Cassidy is using right now. Which Cassidy Orange, he's
AEW.
He's in AEW, yeah. And I feel like he's one of the gimmicks right now that's like revolutionizing. Like who gets it? He gets what it gets people excited about wrestling.
Gets the people going.
He gets
No,
the
man.
people going.
That man doesn't even say a thing.
And right,
One little action, and that man has the whole like arena in like panties throwing at him, screaming.
Oh shit!
This man, he's so over. It bothers old heads in that world, and I love this. I love the fact that he's doing this. He's so the sloth style that he does, and I see. Obviously, it's like that is an intangible art form that is really hard to strike. It's that people do not understand the amount of groundwork it requires.
The man's
within
fighting
your own
with
psyche.
Pockets.
Yeah, and even
rolling shit, drop kicks, fucking jumping from the top. Man,
so he represents, in my eyes, the millennial approach or the Gen Z approach of Lucha and where it can go, and this gets me excited about seeing him. And he rarely fucking wrestles.
He does.
He rarely wrestles. But he's like he wrestled Jericho that match, the fucking mimosa match or whatever.
The battle of the mimosas.
And even Jericho is a master of the craft. He's a master of the kayfabe craft, and just being able to play into a role, embody this role, and live through it in real time with his audience. And that's very fucking hip hop if you ask me. Like that's so fucking hip hop.
I feel like that man has like 9 lives. He's just able to rebrand himself
he's
and
the
like
best. He's the best.
Jericho, Y2J.
Yes.
Yeah. Like shout out Kiki, Kiki Martinez. He's a homie of mine from back home.
Okay.
But he always he's like, nah, Jericho's the fucking best, yo. And like I always argued him. I was I was not, but he's the best at that. And I understand where he came from, where he was coming from.
Okay, sorry. Who is the best heel of all time? Ooh. I got mine. I want to see yours. This is my favorite heel of all time.
Okay, mine. I've actually recently just started watching him, maybe, and he's in AEW Impact. Pentagon Jr.
Oh,
yes.
Penta. So
man,
that's sick. I love Penta.
I'm not too familiar. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, Penta Zero is like, man.
Yeah,
man, what
he's
what
so
they're
gory,
doing right
bro.
now, what Ray Phoenix and him are doing right now, is
I love the face.
Shit gets me excited as well, and I mean the Hollows are here, so
Was that the? Am I getting it wrong? Was he the guy that like beat John Cena with the huge creepy mask? Or
no, it's okay. No, that's what I was gonna bring up. Bray. Bray Wyatt's The Fiend is a great fucking character. That's a great character, and that's the storytelling behind that character, and the fact that it's like a 7-year process that he had to work through. He had to politic his ass through. He had to, the groundwork he had to lay to be able to make this character happen, and then for the way that. I'm gonna say this out loud. The way the WWE is treating its talent is just completely disgraceful to the craft of wrestling.
Yes.
And I feel like people are catching on, and that's why AEW is on the rise, and why there's so much heart still there with a lot of these great talents coming up, and putting their own spin on the wrestling game.
It's Cody Rhodes that made AEW, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's
yes.
what
He's like
executive
a
producer.
executive, yeah, or a chief
That's right.
something.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
chief of operators. He
Mhm.
took Triple H's position basically.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Damn.
Well, yeah, because Triple H, I feel for what Triple H was trying to do on the Nexus stuff and like
Yeah.
the what was
NXT,
yeah, the
yeah.
NXT movement and all like all that shit. But
He's trying to bring like the ruthless aggression, or not the
Oh,
the
'cause
Attitude Era
Attitude-
back.
that's what he
I
was
like that.
raised
I like
in.
that
He was
Yeah.
raised
That was
in
his
that era.
prime,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, and
Triple
him with
H's.
like Triple H's
Stone
Stone
Cold.
Cold
DX,
era,
Rock.
you know,
fucking,
yeah, The Rock's the
Benoit.
Sandman, you
yes.
know, all these
ECW,
The
and all that
Guerreros.
shit,
Yeah.
yes.
Man,
I
Guerrero
love
and
the Guerreros, man.
and just a lot of like these talents that like Eddie Guerrero obviously is a
He's-
huge influence on me.
Yes.
Huge influence on me.
Probably
he
one
put
of the
us on-
best luchadors, honestly.
Oh
Viva
hell yeah!
la
He put
the craft and just what he did with what he had, you know, and and embodying him like, I feel like is a great thing for a lot of hip hop artists are referencing him right now. Bad Bunny. You know, there's a song. I like it like that. The other day,
Yeah.
it was playing in the fucking radio because now it's like, you know, it's an
Off
old
of it.
pop song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, bro, there's 2 wrestling references in this bitch. Like, there's a Jimmy Snuka,
Yes.
a Superfly
Superfly.
reference, and then there's an Eddie Guerrero reference in this rap song. You know, and it just goes to show the influence that these talents have on us, and it's all at the end of the day. Like, I love lucha. I love wrestling for what it offers and just the excitement it causes. Like, it makes
Yeah.
people to come together, and just you asked for the best heel, man, but I don't know if the Undertaker would be considered a heel.
Best.
He's kind of a good guy because
He-
everybody cheers.
not
when he
even
comes
that.
out.
Is, but he's never
When he was the
really
American
asked
Badass, he was
the
kinda-
American Badass stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
But even
He's
then,
the
it
same
was-
as Jericho, in my opinion.
Yeah,
He's a loved heel.
man. Yeah. And him for like, I don't know if you guys have seen the new content that has been coming out about him, about like talking about now he's actually opened up. And
Yeah.
he's, you know,
Have you
no
seen
longer-
the
he's
last
dropped
ride?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did
It's
too. It's
just
such a good one.
I love that, and I love that this is the new era for wrestling to be, and it's that weird. Like, is this real? Is this not? Is this really a heel? Is it like, and what's his name? MJF is.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Okay.
I love his work. I love what he's doing.
This one-
It's just abstract and it's breaking.
It's new.
Breaking norms. It's
Yeah.
fresh. It's something that, you know, it's commitment to something. at
That
the end of
man's
the day.
probably one of the best heels I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't say he's my favorite because like
Yeah.
I'm not in the game as hard, like, you know, paying attention to it as hard as like I would be if
Yeah.
like I had the time, and maybe like, you know, if I was growing up right now as a teenager or like a preteen, like watching this shit,
yeah.
that man is like the guy to fucking hate, and which is it means it works as a mark.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you know.
Man would go over to like a dad or something, just say fuck you and start flipping off on
Yeah.
national television.
Kid'll ask him for an autograph. You're like, nah,
Fuck
you.
that.
You
Yeah, no,
walk
he
away.
actually does that in
He
real
does that.
life. So
Yeah,
he lives it.
He lives this. Like,
Wow. He's doing a Andy Kaufman type thing where he's just living the bit.
and that's
Man.
the
Yeah.
bottom line now. Like that's
That's
the
'cause
minimal.
Stone Cold
That's
said
the
so.
minimal standard. Is the Andy Kaufman levels of kayfabe that you have to commit to be able to make it to really make an impact. Like the whole fucking reason we're talking about him in this music podcast.
Yes.
You know, is because kayfabe, which I don't know if like for the listeners, I've been saying that word a lot, is basically the craft of in a craft of whether something is real or not, and playing to a role, or if it's actually reality. And
Yeah.
also it's used mostly in wrestling to describe what's going on the ring, and whether or not what is being the characters and conflicts that are being portrayed are real,
It's basically like
and how the crowd reacts and needs to react in order to like sell the product as a whole.
Yeah.
You know, that's essentially what that I'm talking about when I reference that particular term. And that's something that I love that, and I think about that too.
Yeah.
Like whenever it's like, like, you know, it's part of branding at the end of the day. It's part of building an image and understanding who you're selling to, what you're selling to them, and who you're selling to, and what results from that, I guess. Like
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it brings people together. It gets people excited,
Yeah.
and it doesn't end because there's creativity and art within it that is endless. Like it's the possibilities are literally endless, and what you could do as a individual to jump in something like that. You know, I admire these guys. I admire what they
Yes.
do. I see the craft and I respect it. I respect that shit.
See, I told everyone if all else fails, I'm going straight to wrestling. Honestly, it used to be a stripper, but I was like, wait, hold on, hold on.
Yeah,
It's the same thing, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a. I mean, I always compare wrestling to like pageantry or like just
Soap
kind of
operas.
soap operas.
It's
yeah,
like a man soap opera.
It's
to be
but it's
honest.
also like dance at the and it's like athletic dance. It's like it's almost it's
Ballet.
choreography. It's storytelling. It's aggression. It's like primal
Ruthless.
instincts. Like ruthless. Yeah,
Yes.
John Cena did it.
Who the hell are you?
It's like,
Yeah.
what the?
And I mean that, and if that's the era I grew up on. Essentially, like the attitude transitioning into the ruthless aggression era.
That's
like,
where I was watching.
yeah, that's when I was paying attention to this, and now that I'm able to go back and see what the product has become in WWE, like I'm disappointed because I loved what I loved, and I no longer love what it is. And that's I feel like a lot of people resonate with that, but also like just the product that AEW is providing and what the possibilities of it are, and you know just what the characters involved are doing. Like you mentioned Penta, he's amazing.
Yes.
He represents. So do you know who Pentagon is
Man,
and why he's junior?
see, I don't know the.
We're gonna have a talk.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a talk. The Pentagon is a huge luchador. Back like he was in Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre along with like these guys like Dr. Wagner, who I actually reference in Balacera, and a lot of people don't fucking know this, but okay, Dr. Wagner, when he would go on stage, like the first thing he would do, he cut off all the lights. This was his thing. He was kind of like a Mr. Kennedy before Mr. Kennedy. This man was doing this shit in the 90s, and he would just like completely shut off all the lights in the ring in the whole stadium. He'd pull up in the very center of it, and then just have a single spotlight on him, and he had a mic. But it wasn't like hanging down, but he had a mic, and he'd just say, "A ver, a 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 ver," which in Spanish it translates to "let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see," and that was just something that he would do to start off his gimmick. And that's something I referenced in Balacera that I hope y'all motherfuckers get. But this guy, I saw him live multiple times. And I saw a lot of people. I got to see La Parca live 2 times. I saw SummerSlam 2000 with John Cena versus Randy Orton.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I got to see, like, Rey Mysterio a couple times. Tijuana wasn't too far from my hometown, so a lot of those acts would stop in Mexicali before they would hit Tijuana, which is a huge, if people don't know, Tijuana is a huge beacon of Lucha Libre.
Yeah.
Huge beacon of Lucha Libre. And that's why, like, you know, the Rey Mysterios of the game, and you know the Perraguayos of the game, and they respect Tijuana because of its scene and the underground, you know, the griminess, the truth that they do, and you know, Lucha is always gonna be a part of, like, it literally a part of me.
Yeah.
My grandma, a famous story that my cousins tell me was my grandma got up and like was cussing out this like rudo, which is a heel, over some shit, and because they took her out and like to go, and she like the ref like allowed her
to
in,
come
like
in.
yeah, and she was like yelling at
Fucking
us like
A.
nah, blah, blah, blah. They gave her the mic and shit.
Hey,
like,
she started
and,
doing a
like,
promo and
yeah,
everything.
she had her own promo, dog. My nana nena, bro. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Who actually the cover art of AYAYAY is inspired off of and dedicated to. The cover art, which I haven't talked about in music much, but because like, you know, fuck the music, listen to that shit, love that shit, like feel that shit, because that's where that's it. But the cover art is a piece I made dedicated to her while I was going to college in California in the time that I was gone from Nashville.
Okay.
And I called it Maria Elena because it was when she passed away. Rest in peace. I'm not much of a painter. I never claimed to be, but I always loved to draw.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up on DBZ. I grew up on anime.
Okay.
I grew up on like Full Metal. Just watching, Gundam growing up.
Yeah.
But I always loved to paint, like the idea of paint, but I could never do it myself. So I was like, fuck this, fuck all of that. I'm just gonna do something. And I remember I threw all my rage, all my energy onto a canvas, and it was just, I wrote like the ugliest words I could think of, like hate, like kill, like the ugliest words I could think of, and I wrote them all in black.
Okay.
And then on this, it was like a 10 by 24 canvas, and then I just splattered red paint on it, and red and black paint on top of those words. And I found a mask that I had been given to by an ex-girlfriend. But the mask was like representing of like the masks we all kind of put up to hide the pain. Put that bitch on and painted a Katrina face over it, Day of the Dead female skeleton, a Katrina. And I submitted it to this gallery, and they loved it. And I actually had someone offer me a price for it, and because I didn't list a price, and I denied it, and I needed the money, but I couldn't let go of that. I found a picture of that when I was going through my files, cropped that hoe, and found a concept that actually BK helped me develop about talking about just how to instill different, like Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, imagery into like a new context. And a lot of it is just, it's colorful flowers, skeletons, it's death.
Yeah.
It's the beauty of, we give flowers to our dead. I'm sorry.
Very good.
And just like, there's something beautiful in like a life, like a flower being plucked.
Okay.
To be given to someone who was passed, who was also plucked, and how they'll be buried with them. And there's something there. I'm not sure what it is, but I know I feel it, And I made a piece using an image of that artwork that I submitted last 2 years ago now. Fuck, time. And made a cover art for it, dedicated to her, and that's actually going to be the cover for the single.
Okay.
That I'm releasing on the 2nd.
Damn. Well, Tony, thank you for stopping by, man. That was a freaking treat.
Man,
I appreciate you coming
I
out.
appreciate you, man. Like, it was really
Great
nice to meet
guest.
you. I just hit the mic.
No, it's all right.
It's really
Sorry,
First guest, guys. I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna leave you
Yeah.
with this, Tony. We gotta answer the internet question for you
Okay.
to keep
Yes.
and on a fun note.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's see here. What's a good one for you? If there's, okay, I think I asked you this last week. This is my favorite one because it always brings up debate.
Yeah.
If there's one fierce animal that you have to take in hand-to-hand combat, like you're in the wilderness, right?
Mm-hmm.
You come across this animal and you have to like not beat him but fend him off. What animal do you think you could take? Like a fierce animal.
Yeah.
A fierce animal that I could
Just
take.
like you legit, like I could
that I
fuck this
can
thing. up.
realistically take on.
Yeah,
Yes.
like you can square up with
If I
it.
go Super Saiyan on this hoe, I would say, honestly, a dog, a pit bull.
Pit bull? Pit bull?
I'm just gonna leave it at that
See,
because them bitches they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful creatures, and
Yes.
I love them. And they are scary when if they
the
could
lockjaw.
really, if they're fierce, they can do a lot of like they could be weaponized, and I hate that, but they're powerful, and we underestimate like the power of
Yeah.
dogs to just, and we see them every day, but these bitches can go.
Yeah.
These bitches, I don't know if I could take a pit bull, like a full blown pit bull, like fucked
Like
up,
full breed?
full
Yeah, yeah.
breed,
Full
like
bred.
pissed
Straight,
off, pit bull
muscular.
Purebred pit
He
bull.
will destroy my
Tall.
legs, man. He will bite the shit out of me, and I will cry
Okay.
and run.
Dude, I'll always reference this. My friend said polar bear.
A polar bear,
I was
man. I
like,
can't take
no.
a polar bear.
No
That's
one
a-
could take the polar
That's
bear.
a fucking. That's 3 people.
Yes. Yes. No, I
Think
can.
Shaq plus 2 feet.
Yeah.
Probably about another 800 pounds.
No,
It's
I'm
like
being
300
realistic
the
about this. No,
Giants.
I'd love to say a tiger, but nah, them bitches are like what a ton.
No, I would not take a fucking tiger. Yeah.
These like we
Fuck
don't.
this.
We
Yeah.
don't think about this, but yeah, they're creatures out
Yeah.
there.
Imagine coming across a tiger, like, oh
Bruh.
fuck.
Fuck,
Yeah.
shit. No, so what it
Shit.
Just the teeth comparison.
No.
All I got is a brain, yo. Like,
Yeah, all I got
that's-
is this.
Yeah, knuckles, a brain, and some kicks. But
Yeah.
I can't do
No.
much else.
Yeah.
I-
I'll never let my friend live that down. He's like, I think I could take a polar bear. I was like, no.
no.
They're 9 feet tall.
Straight starts coming out of nowhere.
Even though
Alright,
I
you
think
go
of
ahead
the
and try.
reverent,
Yeah,
the
go for it,
reverent,
bro.
that's some reverent shit. Like,
Yeah.
I like that
Yeah.
question though.
Yeah, I like to see what people think, like their interest level into how like they could take like my friend polar bear. I would love to see him take a polar bear. He's 6'3", but he would never take a fucking polar bear.
Stay
no.
away.
One swipe and he's down for the count. It's Mike
Nah,
Tyson in the
it's
fifth. He's waving it off.
That's tough.
Well,
Shout out-
Tony,
shout out to your homie.
yeah, he's got a good heart for it. He's got the heart. But Tony, thanks for coming, man.
Thank you. Thank
It
you
was
for
always a
having me,
pleasure.
man. Thank you for having me.
You got any closing
Oh,
remarks?
Yeah.
Man. See, I usually come prepared with a dad joke, but I can't think of one right now. Have you ever tried the restaurant on the moon?
Nah, no.
It's great food, no atmosphere.
There you go. Write that shit on a Happy Meal.
Yes, sir.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. Have a good night, and always take care.